Guys, tonight's lesson is going to be about tool preparation. This will be a two-part video. We'll cover what we can in the first part, and then we'll cover additional items and additional details in the second video. Okay, so first of all, you should already have ordered a series of pliers. You have your needle nose, your flat nose, and your round nose. Okay, those are all pliers that at this point you should have. You should additionally have a pair of working tweezers, some type of a solder pick. Okay, you should have a burnishing tool, a prong pusher. You should have a ring bender, and you should at least have a ball peen hammer. As I said before, a Teflon and brass hammer is very handy. I recommend it. A rawhide hammer is also very handy, and I recommend it. And then down the road, you're going to want a riveting hammer and a chasing hammer. We're not going to cover those two tonight because you probably don't have them at this point. So let's talk about what we're going to do. So these are not adequate tools when they come from the factory. For example, at least with this hammer, they tried to put a nice shine on it, and that's fine. The shine is adequate. That's not the issue here. What they didn't do was they didn't break this edge. So you basically have a sharp edge that comes up to this smooth finish. So what you're going to do, you should also have your selection of burrs by now and different tools. We've covered the Muzzy wheel, okay, which is basically a miniature grinding wheel. So you need your miniature grinding wheel, and then you're just going to take your hammer and you're going to work your way around, and you're going to put a little either rounded edge or angled edge on this so that you don't come up to a sharp edge anymore. So all you have to do is slowly work your way around, okay? And just slowly make yourself a nice edge, nice broken edge on this hammer. Okay, that was one trip around, and yes, it's starting to have an edge, but that's not adequate. You're going to repeat that process until you have a little bit of a rounded edge, right? And then what you'll do is change from your Muzzy wheel, and you will go to, you can use a blue silicone carbide wheel, or silicone wheel, right? And you're going to do the same thing with this. You're going to work your way around like so, okay, to get out those grinding lines. So you'll get it a fair bit better with that. Then you're going to go to your brown wheel. Same thing. Work your way around. Keep smoothing it until all you can see is very, very, very fine lines left, okay? It should be getting smoother and smoother and smoother to the touch. After your brown wheel, you should be able to use your felt wheel. So you take your polishing rouge and put it on your felt wheel, same thing. Work your way around. Keep going over it. And what you're going to get, as you can see, is a rounded, shiny edge. It should be bigger than this. Go around a few times with the Muzzy wheel and make it bigger, okay? But that way you're not coming up straight edge and a straight edge with high polishes, because this will damage the pieces that you're working on. You need this to be radiused off from here, okay? So that's how you're going to do your hammers. It doesn't matter if you already have these other two, you're still going to do the same thing with them. You're going to do the same thing on the ball on the back. Same thing with the ball on the back. You want it to be nice and smooth. You want no tool marks in there. Okay. You have these three pairs of pliers, at least. Okay. What you'll notice is if you close these together, that's not a very small point at all. And when we're working with something like, say, these prongs, your pliers are actually larger than the prongs, okay? Which means it's difficult to work when you have two prongs side by side like that. So, the same as we did with the hammer, back to the Muzzy wheel. And you don't have to do this very far up the pliers, okay? And put your catch pan away. You don't want all of this debris going in your catch pan, all this steel and all that stuff. You don't want that. So using your bench pin, which you will shape for your comfort as you go. A bench pin with just a V in it is fine to start. Your personal style will start to develop and shape into your bench pin. Can you use the same style I do? Sure. Can you flip this over and just have a V? Sure. Whatever you're comfortable with to get the job done, that's going to determine how you form your bench pin. So we just hold these closed, and we're going to go about a 1/2 inch up on them. All right, that's it. That's all we need to go. And we're going to work our way around. You'll probably want to wear a dust mask with this. It does make quite a bit of dust. Turn them 180 and do the same thing. You can even go around like this if you're feeling spunky. I prefer to try and keep it to one side at a time. Try to be smooth and uniform in your motions. Okay, let's flip it back again. Okay, so once again, we next go to the blue silicone wheel and work our way around. And you may use up a few wheels in the process of doing this, and that's okay. And you will periodically do this to your tools as you get used to them and as they wear in to where you like them. You're going to want to maintain them where they're comfortable for you, where you like them, right? So this might be something you do once a month, depending on the volume of work that you do. You want your tools to be fitted and tuned in exactly to you in the way that is most comfortable and most useful for the work that you're going to do, okay? And again, practice being fluid and smooth about it. Oops, I slipped. Okay, and again, the next wheel down will be the brown wheel. And this is just going to take out some of the markings that we have from the blue wheel. You'll notice all these tools are new. That's because these are all the tools in my new studio, and I have to do all the same things that I'm asking you to do. I have to do to my own tools to make them what I want them to be. All the tools at my regular job have already been broken in exactly like I like them for years. Okay, so that's that. And now we're gonna go to the felt wheel with some polishing rouge. And we're gonna do the same thing. Work our way around, right? If you have a large polishing wheel, you can use that as well. But if all you have is what we're working with here, you'll still at least be able to polish your tools as you need. Okay, so that's the outside. What we're also gonna do, if you look, there are tool marks in here. We don't want that, okay? That will mar the gold or the silver as we're working on it. So they are pretty fine tool marks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go straight to the brown wheel. Okay, there's no need for anything more aggressive at this point. I'm gonna hold them open and I'm gonna work it one side at a time. Don't overdo it because when you close these, you want that gap to still be there, okay? Or not that gap, you want that to be a nice smooth seam in between, right? So what we're really doing is a minimum polish just to remove the markings. And you can take this as high as you like, but you know, a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, even an inch is adequate. Change your angle slightly depending on the grind that is inside from whatever tool they use to grind these. All right, these are going to need some more work than what I'm showing you here, but I'm just illustrating so that you are going to have time to practice this and to prepare your tools before we start lessons, okay? Try to be as smooth and as even as you can, okay? In this case, I probably could have gotten away with going to the blue wheel just for a little bit because they're not quite, there are some decent scratches. Okay, so now what we wind up with is very crisp edges here, okay? We don't want that. We want, again, because when we grab something, we don't want to leave marks on the side. So all you do is just break the edge gently like this on both sides. Feel, make sure that it feels soft and smooth. You don't want it to feel sharp, okay? If it feels sharp, just keep going until you can get it smoothed down. See? All right, so let's take a look at how these look now. All right, so as you can see, this outside has been reduced. It's much smaller now. This is much more manageable to work with when we get into those tight corners. You can also see that it's much shinier as well. There's a lot less damage that you're going to incur by having it shiny and smooth. Okay, you see in there? See how that's nice? So you're going to do that with these. You're going to do that with your hammers. Do that with your other pliers. Now, the solder pick I've already done, but it's the same thing. You use your grinding wheel and smooth it down, and as you can see, mine already has a high polish on it. I did this last night. Okay? And your pliers, we're gonna let it run. We're gonna let it run because we're most of the way there. Your pliers, same thing. Or your tweezers. Smooth them off inside, smooth them off outside. Polish them, okay? Burnisher, prong pusher, tweezers, and solder pick. You're gonna do all of those the same way, all right? For your ring benders, unless you bought the Teflon ones, wrap them in something soft. A lot of people use leather. I use my V-trap tape. And that covers the bulk of, your third hand. Whether you have the clamp one that has a heavy base or you have the more articulated one, you're gonna grind down these tips and polish them. You want them to be pretty sharp because you're gonna hold some really small stuff sometimes and you want that to be ready to go. Okay. I also asked you to pick up a few different gravers. They're going to come to you looking like this, okay? And you're gonna have this tapered end here. That tapered end, stick it in a vise pointing up, okay? Now with your torch, have your graver handles ready, and with your torch, you're gonna heat these gravers. Pay attention to which way the handle is. You want the flat. This one is angled this way, so you want the flat on the graver to be towards the bottom, which would be this edge. Get it so it starts to glow red. And push it on. You can quench it in a bucket of water after if you like. These are a couple of shorties because I use these all the time, and I'm going to show you that you can actually get 2 gravers out of 1 purchase in most cases. And again, get it red. And you're done. Again, you can quench them in water if you choose. All right, so what you wind up with, you now have 2 gravers, and all you have to do is sharpen them, which will be another lesson, okay? These are old handles that I reused, so they're not perfect. But what you wind up with is gonna look more like this, okay? It's gonna look like this with the handle on it. And the rule that I was always taught is you want the length of this to reach your middle finger. Well, I have used gravers for years and years now, and I find that to be the most uncomfortable way and hard on your wrist way to use a graver. So what I do, I take this full length graver and I cut it in half, okay? Half I make out of the first graver, and when that one wears out, then I make the second graver, okay? That should give you guys enough stuff to go on tonight. We're going to go over one more thing before we wrap up, and this is important. Down here at the gauges, please. Once you have your micro torch set up, okay, red goes to propane, green to oxygen. Make sure the oxygen gauge is on your oxygen tank and the propane gauge is on the propane tank. This one has a left-handed thread, so you can't screw it onto that one, okay? Your pressures, can you come down where they can see the pressures, please? Your pressures should be about 7 psi. The inside circle on this one is your psi, okay? For your propane, you want to run it at about 7. For your oxygen, the PSI is also on the inside range, and you want to run that at about 6. Those are going to be good working temperatures for you to start with your micro torches. We'll discuss other pressure settings as we go along, and you're doing specific projects. You're going to want different temperatures and different torch tips, and then we'll go for that as a case-by-case basis, okay? So you should be able to have all of these done in, I don't know, by the end of the week, hopefully. And The only other thing that we're going to cover this week is going to be sizing stock so that I can actually show you some projects and you can start to do the work. Okay, and I will put that list together, and that will be the next lesson plus any addendums that I may have forgotten to cover here. And as always, you can always ask me questions when you see me on TikTok, or you can message me directly through Patreon. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.